like it or not. For the moment, the Earth is where we make our stand.
Okay guys, we're starting with something juicy this time. Riley is now having live debates to defend his crappy paper. This is great. This is truly incredible stuff here. Listen to this. Hang on, let me just find the right signal again.
So fucking dead.
Jesus.
So
Wait, is that a
fucking
real
dead.
picture?
I think that's a real photo of a deer that probably jumped into a pool and then just fucking thrashed around and drowned. So that's
Jeez, is that true?
that's delightful.
What is that actually happened?
Of course it happened. I think this is a reflection of how like
Pearson has never actually performed a side slip in a glider, but he's attempting one now in a Boeing 767.
Here we go.
Deja vu, I just been in this place before. Higher on the street, and I know it's my time to go. Going
It's like I said, it's overtly obvious. If you disagree, then fine, I'll stick a paragraph in when, because I'm going to be getting it back anyway. Because they haven't, because the university don't support or didn't support this. They've not given me the format for which I'm supposed to. Like they didn't tell me if I needed a contents table or not. They didn't tell me which form of referencing I needed at the end or not. Should it be Harvard, Oxford, or whatever? So they've not told me what I need to do.
I don't believe you.
Yeah, that dog won't bark, my friend. If that were the case, you'd have a valid legal case against the school or the professors, and you should really know that given, law thesis and whatnot. Every school that isn't a fly-by-night diploma mill outlines exactly what's required for every assignment they hand out. It's called a syllabus, and you get it on the first day if you show up. I have this funny feeling that one of two things happened. Either Riley lost that page, or two, somewhere on it, it said standard APA format, and he said, "What the hell does that mean?" and threw it aside.
Oh, yeah. I know some of these words.
I really should have looked further into the court case that Riley was basing his paper on. The Dimmock v. Secretary of State for Education and Skills was heard in 2007. In which a father of two boys took issue with a teacher's use of the film An Inconvenient Truth to discuss the issue of climate change. Mr. Dimmock argued that schools are supposed to present a balanced presentation of political issues and receive backing from a very prominent climate change denier. The court ruled that the film was founded in scientific fact, but did have a degree of political bias such that teachers would need to address the film's lack of neutrality. This I agree with, because let's be honest, the best source for climate change education is probably not a former politician's desperate cry for attention.
Boys, there's no such thing as a man-bear pig. The vice president is just desperate for attention.
But I feel kind of bad for him, Dad. I don't think he has any friends.
That's what this debate was about, really. Riley was trying to argue the legal validity of his paper, setting aside all of the structural issues. The problem is, he can't draw a clear connection between teaching heliocentrism and partisan politics. In fact, Riley's catch-all argument in the debate is to say it's overtly obvious that heliocentrism is political. I can already imagine how that would go in court.
That's what you have to argue. But you just make it, you just claim it to be inherent without any discussion of it whatsoever.
It doesn't need any. The national curriculum is a policy of the government.
So you're admitting that you're just going to hand-wave dismiss discussion of a particular element in an argument that you're making. That you don't have to discuss it all.
Not really, unless you've got a good argument for why it's not political.
Because of paragraphs 8. Because I can say paragraphs 18 and 19. Your Honor, he is trying to dispute the heliocentric model, a scientific endeavor. Which is not what sections 406 and 407 are intended to regulate.
And paragraph 18 relates to 407.
19
Not
says, of course
406.
that's right. Sections 419, 406, and 407 are not concerned with scientific disputes. Your Honor, he is trying to create a scientific dispute by trying to poke holes in the heliocentric model, even though he has not shown how and in any way the heliocentric model in and of itself is political.
Day 2.
That's
Your Honor,
something
look at the
that's going to be on you to try and argue.
Your Honor, look at the definition of political, relating to the government. The policy of the government for the national curriculum is political by definition, ipso facto. No further case.
Okay, in what way is the heliocentric model in any way relevant to the government or public affairs of the country?
The implementation of the policy of the government relating to the government. That, by virtue of that definition, makes it obviously political.
And the distance to the sun and everything else into it has nothing to do with the public affairs of a country.
I never said it did. I said,
but that's what you're trying to argue. That you're trying to argue that a heliocentric model is in and of itself political.
You didn't listen to what I said, or if you did, you didn't answer my point that I made.
Day 3.
It's not about the dispute. It's about the way it's being taught. They've got to teach it balanced, right? You are
disputing it, and you are saying because there is a dispute on the heliocentric model, the DES is in violation of 406 and 407 because they're not offering a balanced viewpoint that includes the disputed issues with the heliocentric model.
Yeah.
Which is exactly what is forbidden. Which is exactly what is not concerned. 406 and 407 is cursed. It is right there. The text is right there.
Day 4.
Yeah, isn't obvious to me. Case dismissed. I'm gonna go eat a burrito. So I'm on page 17 now. Riley's going back to the argument of, because people disagree with this scientific fact, other views must be taught. Riley, have you ever heard of the Koroway people of Papua New Guinea? There's about 3,000 of them, big enough to rival some Flurf channels. They believe that eating the flesh of your enemies gives you their power. Should their belief be taught? Ever heard of Kuru disease? The Koroway have. Now, anyway. Section 407 allows for a balanced presentation of opposing views, not one in particular, but opposing views in general. So for Aristotelian geocentrism, there should be evidence demonstrating this. There is nothing in the national curriculum to show the balance of opposing geocentric views. Well, that's because geocentrism is kinda stupid, Riley. I'm sorry, man, but it is. It's stupid and it's wrong. I'm not even going into it. I'm just going to show this image. Next, he starts banging on about the balanced presentation of opposing views. It is suggested that the judiciary is better placed to contrast between the real science over pseudoscience because a judge is better placed to accept the evidence that can prove things if science is being questioned over willingly accepting pseudoscience in place of cause and effect relations. This is quite possibly the stupidest thing I have ever read aloud. Why did I read that aloud? Why didn't I run it through a text-to-speech generator? Fuck me, I think I have cancer now thanks to that. No, Riley, a judge is not better placed to be deciding issues of science. This is precisely why science and the judiciary systems of the world are segregated. Issues of the law deal with the irrationality of human behavior, psychology, sociology, things of that nature. Science, on the other hand, deals with cold, hard facts. Note that many crimes are committed without the cold, hard facts being readily available, and a judgment is still given at the end of it. Riley's only point to suggest a judge is better suited than a teacher is because of bias on the side of the teacher. You don't think the judge probably already accepts the heliocentric model? You seem to forget that literally everyone except your cult accepts the globe. His next general point, typical of his kind, is to start going on about the issues with the heliocentric model, highlighting a need for them to be addressed. Firstly, the teaching of the Copernican model is a reification fallacy in that it treats a model as real world, and in doing so, you are actually being taught that you live in a system or a concept. It is a model, it is not real world. To fail to realize this as a reification fallacy means you are already victim to a pseudoscience. Well, here's the problem with that. The use of constructs in science doesn't quite qualify as a reification fallacy, and I'll explain why. By the way, Riley does have the definition correct. A reification fallacy is when an abstraction is treated as though it were a concrete physical entity. However, the scientific method inherently corrects for this fallacy by forcing the abstraction to prove causal connections to reality. For example, we can predict retrograde Mars due to knowing about its orbital characteristics from the model. Besides, the education system in and of itself doesn't use the heliocentric model as reality anyway. What it says is, here's the model, and look, here's what happens in reality, and this would appear to be consistent with the model. Using pseudoscience, a chart or a diagram or a graph or a model is not the physical or natural world. It is a model, and by that fact falls outside science, and in doing so cannot be taught as science. It should be contrasted with science because there is nothing physical or natural about seismology predictions about the core of the Earth, for example. It is technically being touted as science, but in fact it is not science at all. It is the use of technology mistaken as science. Wait. Back the fuck up. There is nothing physical or natural about seismology?
My assertion is that the teaching of the heliocentric model, the Copernican model, is unlawful under sections 4.
There is nothing physical or natural about seismology.
Of the Education Act, and the burden for me to satisfy is not the criminal burden of proof, which I'm sure we're all aware is beyond all reasonable doubt. My burden to satisfy is
Alright, so, I'm okay. I think I can do this. I can do this. I got this. Riley reiterates on page 21, no evidence for gravity. I reiterate. Next, he reiterates the distance to the sun is questioned because of Carl Sagan's math. I reiterate, and say it with me, folks.
Spectroscopy.
And then he gets to something new. And when I say new, I mean new to his paper, not to FE cultists. I'll whip out my best Dell impression to make his point for him. We go to physics, and we're told that we live in a pressurized environment that's coexisting next to a vacuum. Negative pressure. Zero pressure. So in response, I ask him, and I ask Dell, the following questions. 1. Do you accept the existence of the pressure gradient? 2. If yes, where does it stop and why? Man, we're really flying now, huh? Next he's after seismology, going back to his earlier point. Did he write this when he was high? I mean, I am as I write mine, but Jesus, at least I can stay on point. The problem is, the deepest hole ever to be drilled into the Earth is the Kola super deep borehole at just 8 miles deep in northwest Russia in the early 90s. Seismology predictions predicted numerous things they should find when they drilled, but they were wrong on all counts. For example, they predicted that the density of rock would increase with depth, but this did not happen. The density decreased with depth. They also predicted that there would be a transition layer of rock from granite to basalt at a certain depth, but there was not. I checked his reference on this, and now he's careening wildly from stupid to deliberately dishonest. The density issue is complicated. Where the rock was expected to become more dense, it had greater porosity than the layers above, which, combined with the high temperatures, caused the rock to behave like a plastic and make drilling very difficult. When it comes to the transition layer, they still weren't wrong. While they expected a transition from rock to granite, it was instead a transition to a metamorphic layer of granite which had roughly the same physical properties as basalt. So basically it walked like a duck and quacked like a duck, but it wasn't a duck. Okay, I'm gonna be honest, I just started scrolling at one point because I was tired and numbed by the stupidity of this, and I realized something. This is just every Flurf video ever on paper. It hits all the points. Star trails don't make sense. The moon produces a cold light. There is no evidence of Earth's rotation. We can see too far. He even uses 8 inches per mile squared. It's time to address the Flurfs directly, because I'm throwing out this garbage paper now. I'm not finishing it. Riley, you tried to hijack the education system in order to stand on a platform as a martyr to your cult when they tell you that you're a fucking idiot. Worse yet, you crowdfunded this thing. Your fans paid for this garbage. Flurfs, I need you to listen to me. I need you to listen very carefully because everything you want has been given to you. Sit down and talk to someone and truly understand the reality beneath your feet. Learn that you're wrong about 8 inches per mile squared. Learn about spectroscopy. Learn about the scientific method. It's okay to be wrong and then learn anew. Learn about how much work goes into expanding our knowledge and how little of it is being kept secret from you. Come on, guys. Buy the ticket, take the ride. If you like this video, please give it a like. If you want to see more, please subscribe to my channel, which is Dead Kennedy in Space. If you want to support me further, consider donating on Patreon or purchasing some of my work through Amazon or Teespring. Thank you, and I'll see you over the curve, Space Cowboys.
Live there, on the mote of dust, suspended in a sunbeam, in a vast cosmic arena.